Buffs got picked, Ryan Miller and Tony Clemens. Ryan Miller going to Cleveland, Tony Clemens going to his hometown team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then several other Buffs have signed free agent contracts. Conrad Obi, I thought, was a little bit of a surprise going with Arizona. I just say is a little bit of a surprise because Conrad kind of had limited playing time in his career here in Boulder. And then Rodney Stewart and Tyler Hansen together again, reunited with the Cincinnati Bengals. Did the draft kind of go how you thought it would for the 28 seniors in the 2011 class?
I think it went better than I thought it would for CU. I think Tony Clemens was a pleasant surprise getting drafted at all, and it's obviously a great training camp story for him to go to his hometown. And frankly, the Steelers don't like to waste draft picks, so I think they think he can make the club. He certainly has the physical ability to do so. Ryan Miller, we thought, would go in the late rounds. He went in the 5th round to a team that, needs young guys to develop, and he's certainly that, the Cleveland Browns. I think that's a good place for him to land. I think he'll have an opportunity to kind of feel his way in and develop there. I don't think they're in a rush to get him in the starting lineup or anything. I think that's a good fit for him. They already have some good offensive linemen that he can work with. So the two guys that are drafted, I think, have a good shot of making the roster. I think Miller definitely will, and Clemens probably will. And then you have a great training camp story in Cincinnati with Rodney Stewart and Tyler Hansen. I think they're both long shots to make that team, but it's a great opportunity for them.
It'd really be a feel-good story if Rodney Stewart somehow made the team. Not that it wouldn't with Tyler Hansen, but being that it's Cincinnati and Rodney is an Ohio kid and all that, that would just kind of add a little element to his story. Switch up here. This week, the spring meetings for the Pac-12 conference are in Phoenix, and I was just kind of thinking on my way in here today that the past couple of years, when it came to the spring meetings, it was pretty big news. A few years ago, the Buffs began their trek toward the Pac-12 conference by basically announcing at the Big 12 spring meetings that they were serious about leaving that conference and joining the Pac-10. And then last year, the spring meetings is basically where they unveiled their record-setting television contract. And so this year, I'm not expecting nearly the news out of the spring meetings from the Pac-12 conference, but Tad Boyle, John Embry, Mike Bone, Linda Lappy, Seal Berry, David Clough, they'll all be down there discussing conference business. And I think we might find out a little bit more about how the Pac-12 network is developing. It's supposed to launch here, on August 1st, and that's just a few months away. And really, I mean, we know next to nothing about the Pac-12 network and how it's going to operate and stuff right now, what it's going to look like. You expecting anything from the spring meetings this week?
Well, first let's go back 2 years and just how thankful is CU that they were the forerunner in all this realignment. They've got this deal that they're hammering out the kinks with right now, but what a great deal. You look, it's still going on. San Jose State and Utah State are still leaving the WAC right as we speak to go to the Mountain West. Other WAC teams are leaving for Conference USA, so the WAC is really on fumes right now.
Dirt on the WAC
yeah,
at
the
this
WAC,
point?
The WAC is Big Sky territory right now. So CU fortunate to be in the Pac-12, Utah very fortunate to be in the Pac-12, and it's great that they're in that position to even talk about this network. From a basketball standpoint, I think one thing that might come out of it is obviously they have the long-term deal in 2017 with matching up Big Ten and Pac-12 football teams. I think they're going to start that sooner with basketball, and that might come out of it. They might even start that this year. Tad Boyle's kind of waiting to set his schedule to see if he has another big-time game with a Big Ten team coming up. I'd like to see him play, a Wisconsin, a Michigan, or someone like that, instead of just the automatic let's match him up with Nebraska thing. But that could be some scheduling news coming out for the Buffs men's basketball team, which, is big news as, they've been on the bubble the last couple of years, so it's important to get one of those games.
Yeah, from a football perspective, I would think that you'll get some feedback from everybody involved.
Speaking of John Embry.
Yeah. You'll get some feedback from everybody involved, from the chancellors and presidents to the football coaches about changing the way the national champion is picked in football every year. Looks like we're headed toward a 4-team playoff, and I think most people think that's a good thing, that we're finally there. And then I think there's some scheduling things to go over on the football side of things too. How they schedule, because you have the Pac-12 network to consider in that whole situation, and then the Big Ten Pac-12 scheduling alliance that'll begin in 2017. Though I think there's still a few kinks maybe to work out in that situation. So that's just some of what you probably hear out of Phoenix this week.
So far this summer, or this spring's been great for all of us that hate the BCS system. First of all, they're getting rid of the automatic qualifying tag that they put on certain conferences, and other conferences don't automatically qualify. I think that's a good thing, and this 4-team playoff, finally, we're talking about it, and it looks like it's going to happen. I mean, can you imagine in 2001, the Buffs, if they were in this current conference scenario, they could have been in the national semifinals at the Rose Bowl. I mean, how different would have that been? So
yeah,
that's great news.
I mean, you bring that up, and it might have made all the difference in the world for the Buffs, because the Buffs didn't get a shot at the national title, and they were clearly the hottest team, or one of the hottest teams in the nation going into the bowl season after beating Nebraska and Texas that year. And then having sort of the rug ripped out from underneath them that way, I think took the wind out of their sails, and they got hammered by Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl.
They were definitely top 4, so with this system, it would have worked out well for them, regardless.
Never know. All right, we'll come back next week, and we'll find something else to talk about. It's summertime, it's springtime, and there's too many topics. The women's golf team is rolling right along. Maybe we'll talk about them.